What's up, everybody? Let's get right to work because it's winning time and we got a lot to talk about. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast, a sports ethos presentation hosted by yours truly, Aaron Bruski, and FSWA Hall of Famer Steve, Dr. A. Alexander. I cannot wait to catch up with Steve. I haven't talked to him a full week. But before we do that and get into all of the things that we need to get into here, let's say hello to our sponsor. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all the madness. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to a $200,000 bracket contest. BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every Cinderella story to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Doc, how you doing?
Did you do that every time? And I've come to enjoy it. Doc. I'm doing well. You know how I love to drop names. I'm a big name dropper. Brew.
You are a name dropper.
I don't know if you knew that or not.
If you didn't know, Doc's important.
It's a huge name dropper. And I apparently was in the presence of greatness last night when I was hanging out at the Underground in Dahlonega, and George Kittle was there.
The George Kittle?
The George Kittle. I didn't even know it until I got home. I did not find out I was hanging out with George Kittle until after I was back at home.
You guys kicking him back? You guys, what was that?
Apparently, we were having a great time together, but I didn't realize that George Kittle was there until I got home. My daughter's like, that guy that was at the bar was George Kittle. No, I had no idea.
Hey, that sounds great. I didn't know George Kittle was such a card. I kind of took off from NFL football for about 3-4 years. And we're talking George Kittle, San Francisco 49ers, right?
Yeah.
No, he's kind of a card. And who would have thought that he'd be as good as he is, too? Is he still really, really good?
Yeah. Although I had a prop bet on him to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl or the playoffs. I don't even remember. I had a prop bet on a Kittle touchdown late in the postseason, and it did not hit.
Yeah, we suck now. I'm a 49ers fan, and we suck now. We can't win anything when the going is tough. But enough of that. Let's get into some fantasy basketball here because it's winning time right now. We're deep in fantasy playoffs for tons of you guys, and if you're in rubber leagues like the rest of us, it's still just as important. So we're going to look at tonight. We're going to look at the weekend. We've got a ton of games as usual. It's really cranked up again this weekend. We got 10 games tonight, 8 on Saturday, 8 on Sunday. So we'll get you through all of the streaming action for Friday and over the weekend. We'll look at the top waiver wire plays. We got some props, some picks. So we just got a jam-packed episode here. Let's get into the Friday, Saturday back-to-back teams. We've got San Antonio, Denver, Houston, Indy, Boston, Memphis, and Miami. We're actually going to clip San Antonio and give them a little bit of special treatment toward the end of the show because they got a lot going on there. But let's start in Denver, Doc. We got Denver getting Milwaukee at home. And Milwaukee's fresh off of their back-to-back or the front end of the back-to-back loss against the Lakers. And then they get Washington at home. So Denver gets Milwaukee and Washington at home. Kind of a little bit of a boring team, but is there anybody you're biting on here in Denver as a streamer for the first half of this weekend here?
I don't know what his rostership percentage is, but Russell Westbrook, Aaron Gordon is banged up again. And as we saw last time that happened, Russell Westbrook was a real thing. And now Gordon's banged up again. So I think that's good news for Russell Westbrook. It puts Peyton Watson into play if you're in a deep league. And it should help Christian Brown too, but Christian Brown kind of sucked in his last game.
I'm good with Christian Brown. He got a spot on the roster anytime. I think he's going to probably cruise the rest of the way. Very boring fantasy squad. Let's kick it down the list to Houston. Who do you got in Houston, Doc?
Oh, I thought we were going to keep talking about Russell Westbrook. Westy's got 19 and 16 points his last two games.
Ooh.
And Aaron Gordon, if he's out, Westbrook's automatic. So make sure you go with that. As far as Houston goes, I mean, I don't look at this team and think, oh, man, there's a streamer I need to go. I need to go pick up because there's really not one. Even with Amen Thompson out, you would think that would help Dylan Brooks. You would think that would help Tari Eason, which I think it does help Tari Eason. But the problem with Tari Eason is you never know if he's going to play or not because they rest him a lot. How many back-to-backs does Houston have next week, Brew? Do you have that in front of you by chance?
Might in about 3 seconds. If Andre beats me, I'm gonna be so mad.
I might have it too because I wrote about it.
Houston has
back-to-backs
without back-to-backs. Yeah, no back-to-backs for Houston.
Houston doesn't have any back-to-backs, and they play 3 times, I believe.
Next week they play 4 games.
Wow. So Houston has 4 games. You like that prep work I did there, Brew?
That was great.
Houston has 4 games and no back-to-backs. That means you unleash Tari Eason next week for sure. So Dylan Brooks, Tari Eason, I think those are the 2 guys you can stream. I'd like to think Cam Whitmore is streamable, but they just haven't been playing him at all lately. So I'm taking him off the list.
Yeah, I was a little shocked when I looked at the actual number. 7 games in the last 3 weeks at just 11 minutes per game, and you've had guys that have been out of the lineup. It just feels like, for whatever reason, Ime Udoka is like, nah, we ain't gonna do it, and that's its own little story. I know Cam's been a little pissed off about playing time this season, so maybe it's not so happy there for those guys. Dylan Brooks, you mentioned. Jabari Smith's also another interesting one. So he's been getting minutes, but he can't make a shot to save his life. He's shooting like 39% from the field. I want to say like 60-something from the foul line since returning. And I could look at that and say, okay, this is really, really bad. I'm not advocating, like I'm not all in on Jabari Smith. I think something is not working for him in this configuration, and it's probably too late this season for that to change unless maybe they start resting guys and the standings start affecting things. But there is this idea that maybe he does finally get his shot right. He can't shoot terribly forever. So if you're in a pinch and it's like a tiebreaker, Jabari and somebody else, maybe Jabari, especially against Dallas at home. Dallas is really struggling. They've just got a ton of issues there. It's kind of an easy squad for them to get a win against. Jabari Smith might have a breakout game after so many bad ones. What do you like in Indy, though?
I really don't like Indy for streaming. I don't like Andrew Nemhard. I don't like Aaron Neesmith. I don't like Obi Toppin. I don't like TJ McConnell. I don't like Thomas Bryant. I get none of it. The only guy I like that comes off their bench is Benny Mathurin, and he should be starting. But I do think, the Pacers have a big week. They play 4 games. Miles Turner should go off. Pascal Siakam should go off. Tyrese Halliburton has been basically the hottest player in the league for the last month. He should go nuts. I think it's kind of a stars and scrubs situation in Indy. You've got good players and you've got guys who don't do much. So I'm not really feeling Nemhard or Neesmith. You?
No. I mean, if this is all about Tyrese Halliburton, if he, for whatever reason, is feeling dinged up, the first game, and we're going to talk about these guys later in the bets section, but Philly, maybe a little bit of a rest spot here. I don't know if they'll just do a surprise rest for Tyrese Halliburton. I think we would have heard something about something prior to now if that was going to happen. But if he's out, then you start to see something that's a little bit interesting with a lot of those guys. You might even throw Thomas Bryant in the mix. But with Halliburton in the lineup, it's a no-go for me, for the rest of the squad, because there's also not a lot of long-term upside attached to these guys either. I'm always looking for that. Boston. What do you like in Boston, Doc?
Well, I've got a big Al Horford spiel ready to roll. Do we do that now, or do I save it?
Do we need music for this? Should we have a lead-in?
No. Boston plays 3 times. They have no back-to-backs. So it's not a great streaming week for Boston. But for a guy like Al Horford with no back-to-backs in a week, he's a key player in my 30-deep squad. So I need Al Horford to play. The fact they don't play back-to-backs, I'm probably going to run him out there. And I don't know if you saw, Brew, but Al Horford absolutely went off for my squad and the Boston Celtics against the Thunder the other night, and he had 18 points, 10 boards, 6 assists, 2 blocks, a steal, and 6 3-pointers. That is 30 deep league winning stuff. And while it's easy to bag on Al Horford because he never plays, he is averaging 16 points and 9 boards with a block and 2 steals and 2.5 threes in his 4 March games. So if you're going to get a full week at Al Horford next week, which we should, sign me up.
Yeah. I looked at Al Horford last night and trying to figure out, am I all in on Al Horford or am I not? It feels like a gamble, right? But maybe they're just trying to ramp him up for the playoffs, and he's going to get all sorts of reps, and you got other guys that are going to be resting, and they say, hey, it's just going to be Al Horford's possibly like swan song. You know, they could even look at it like that. Try to get the old man some stats. What a great fantasy player.
On the flip side of all of that, this is the Boston Celtics we're talking about. Back-to-backs may not matter. Everybody on that team has got day-to-day status at this point. So even without the back-to-backs and with just 3 games, do they rest Derek White for a game? Do they rest Jaylen Brown? Do they rest Jason Tatum? Do they rest Horford? We just don't know what's going to happen there. And then you've got Kristaps Porzingis, who I don't think has played since February. Where's Kristaps? Is he wearing a red and white hat, lost in a crowd somewhere?
He'd be a little bit easy to find. He's really sick, like me, like really sick. I don't know. I think he was with the team, I want to say a day ago. So that's good news. If I'm guessing if it's about the sickness, then, you know, maybe like a couple of games from now, I don't know with Porzingis, but I would expect that they want him on the floor. I mean, we are now 30 days out from the first playoff action. So guys got to get geared up. And so it's interesting, the different timelines. Like a lot of teams are resting their players, but certain guys, you know, that haven't played as much, this might be the ramp up period for certain players, especially after that sickness. You look like you're about to make a point. I mean, that look about you.
Here, the thing with the Celtics is you got to find out who's playing, you know, the day of or the night before, and then you make your moves based on that. If Porzingis and Horford are out, I think Luke Cornett is worth a look. He has a 4-block game this month. He gets 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rebounds every time he plays. Doesn't score a ton of points, but if both of those guys are out, I think Cornett is at least a deep league discussion piece. And then if Tatum or Jaylen Brown are out, Sam Hauser is worth a look. And as always, Peyton Pritchard, who somehow we haven't mentioned yet, who kind of sucked in his last game or two, is due for a bounce back as well. So I think I've extinguished all of my Boston artillery.
That was great. Yeah, I think Pritchard's probably due for a real big game right about tonight. It's not likely that he's going to keep being quiet like that. So let's get out of Boston. Let's head over to Memphis. They're at home against Cleveland tonight. That seems to be probably one of the better games of the night. I'm a little curious as to why Memphis is getting so much respect from Vegas in this one. Let me see an updated line. I haven't looked at it yet this morning. I'll get that here in a second as we're going. But then they get Miami at home. So they got 2 home games, Cleveland and Miami. Who do you like in Memphis right now? Oh, by the way, Jaren Jackson Jr., questionable, but you were doing some intrepid research over there, Doc. What did you find?
There are Vegas props out for Jaren Jackson Jr. tonight. Doesn't mean he's playing, but it usually, if they put the props out there, at least on my site that I use, it means the guy has a chance to play. So I think there is a decent chance we see Jaren Jackson Jr. tonight, which I think is very important going into next week. Like if we go into next, if it's Sunday night and we don't know if Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to play next week, makes things tough. But the thing I love about Memphis, 4 games, no back-to-backs. That is great news for everybody, especially Triple J. So Jaren Jackson Jr. hopefully is good to go. I think your streamers from this team, Jalen Wells, of course. Gigi Jackson kind of goes back to no man's land. He was getting some run and some starts with Triple J and Santi Aldama both out. I don't know when Aldama is due back, but if Santi and Jaren Jackson are playing, then I don't want to mess with Gigi Jackson. And then Luke Kennard went off for 30-something points and a bunch of threes, like 30 and 7. And Kamla's like, nope. You absolutely bet the under on everything he does in his next game. It's not happening again.
I love that Rick is such a degenerate. He's got that game on lockdown.
Oh, he's all over. He's like, absolutely not. Luke Kennard will let you down every time. He has a big game and then a bad game. So play all the unders. If you score 30 and hit 7 threes or whatever he did, you get my attention at least. So I'm not.
But I want to counter Rick's point here. It feels like he does them in 4-game bursts.
Ooh.
And that's the scary part with Luke Kennard is he does just enough to get your attention. I mean, a 2-game burst, the way he's been, I think it's 2 games. It's been really good. And maybe it's just 1 game. I didn't pop out the game log with Luke Kennard. It's just, with Luke Kennard, by the time you hop on, it's going to be all bad. And but you know what? It's worth looking at. I mean, if you're streaming, especially in deeper situations, you're kind of looking for pop guys. I'd rather kind of go all in on somebody who's got a chance to make some noise rather than, a little middle of the road guy. Scottie Pippen Jr., if Brandon Clark is playing, I don't know what his status is right now. I think he's ruled in. If he's playing, he might get you some late round numbers. Old Jay Huff has been making noise. Yeah, I knew I would get a good chuckle out of you over there.
Old Jay Huff. You just can't quit Jay Huff, can you?
I did. I quit for like 2 months. I slapped the old Jay Huff patch on my shoulder, and I was good to go. Miami at home against Boston, on the road in Memphis. What do you like in Miami, sir?
Nothing.
Loaded question of the day. What do you like in Miami?
Nothing.
If you had to gamble with your life, who would you play?
Let's see. Tyler Hero is hot. He's on fire. Andrew Wiggins.
I don't think he's available.
Is doing Andrew Wiggins stuff. Not available. Bam Adebayo. Not available.
I just crap on your take. Sorry.
Khalil Ware. Totally available because he kind of sucks. Haywood Highsmith. Haywood Highsmith, very, very available because he's turned into nothing now.
We're a collection of whack fantasy all-stars.
It leaves us with Davion Mitchell and Duncan Robinson. And
who are you taking?
There are things I've sworn off Davion Mitchell. I'm like, never ever again will I mess with this dude in a fantasy league. But he's playing kind of good. I would go Duncan Robinson first, and then Davion Mitchell, and then Jaime Jaquez somehow is still making a little bit of noise, but I think Spoelstra and the Heat don't like him. Like they don't. There's no.
He was probably friends with Jimmy. They did the commercial together, and that means everything. Of course, they're great friends because of the commercial together. Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. I was looking at the streamers. Actually, I should have actually said this at the top. Is the Friday Saturday combos are trash, and when you get into Saturday Sunday and even just waiver wire pickups at large, there's way more exciting stuff to do. So we're going to get into that. Before we do, if you want to get connected and make sure you're not missing any of our free content, as well as supporting our mission here to create the best fantasy sports platform known to man, and you're watching on YouTube, drop a thumbs up on this video. That would help us out. Actually, way more than it should. It's actually way weird that you clicking that stupid little button helps us out. And if you're tuning in on Twitter, follow us at Ethos Fantasy NBA. That'll make sure you're connected to all our stuff. And if you're listening on the pod feed, make sure you're subscribed, and a 5-star review would be great. And then you will be connected and ready to go. Saturday, Sunday back-to-backs. We got 3 teams: OKC, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee. So a little bit of a mixed bag there. Let's start with Oklahoma City. They're in Detroit, and then they're at Milwaukee. The Milwaukee game's an ESPN game. I think the Detroit game, especially after Detroit just lost to Washington, I think for whatever reason, I think Oklahoma City will probably want to play this out. They've got the MVP chase for Shea. They've got Jalen Williams out, more or less. Caruso questionable. What else is new? And it doesn't feel like they're ready to let up off the gas, the hammer. Like they're just going to keep going here. So at any rate, who do you like out of OKC heading into this weekend?
I feel, speaking further on your point, I do feel like Daigneault is like, I'm not taking my foot off the gas. Like people get hurt and then you play through it. You get the next man up mentality. So I don't think we're going to see Oklahoma City rest a lot of guys. Didn't they shut everybody down for one game last week?
Yeah, they did.
And that was kind of out of the blue and weird. So I think
maybe stuff like that.
Maybe they do that one more time, but that may have been it. That may have been the one time they felt like they needed to do it. So with Jalen Williams out, it brings Aaron Wiggins into play. Cam's all mad at Aaron Wiggins because he was 0 for 9 and didn't score a point when he had his big start against the Celtics. And I'm like, dude,
Celtics.
I'm like, dude,
they do that.
Game. He had an off night. He's like, he did not have an off night. He completely crapped the bed, and that was his chance. And so Cam's really mad at him. I still think Aaron Wiggins is worth a look, and I think he does too. But Aaron Wiggins for sure is worth a look with no Jalen Williams. And then I actually like Lou Dort better than Aaron Williams, and he was better that night. And then Cason Wallace is sort of a bulldog, man. And
it's
think
great
Cason
to see
Wallace,
him producing.
Yeah, Cason Wallace is like steals and threes and blocks, and he's good. So I think Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort. There's a lot to like about Oklahoma City streamers. I like all 4 of those guys.
Proposal for the league: if you're going to expand into wherever, Seattle, etc., just take the Thunder and split them up in half. Like you could even do the bottom half, send them up to Seattle, make it right with the people in Seattle. There's a couple wackos out there, but most of them are very, 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 very good. Great
wackos out there.
There are a couple wackos out there, but they deserve a basketball team. So cut the back end of the Thunder off, send them to Seattle, and I think we're onto something there. Yeah, I think you covered it all. I want to see Isaiah Joe actually get in the action. He's really good, but he plays for the Thunder, so he has no chance. And but if you got Jalen Williams out, and maybe some others take some rest, then maybe Isaiah Joe. So if you're looking in a deep league, trying to figure out which Thunder player you can get to stream, I'd have him at the back end there. Let's get to Brooklyn.
Do you think Jalen is going to play again before the playoffs?
I do. Yeah, I do. I think there was reports that said it was more or less not a big deal. I think they're giving him a couple games off just to be a little bit safe with that. But yeah, I would say he's probably back in middle of next week, kind of maybe even sooner. I don't know when their first game is in the middle of next week, but yeah, no, I think he's coming back. Let's get over to Brooklyn. Now, Brooklyn's kind of fun.
Let's not.
I did just say that.
I don't like that. I don't like that story, babe.
No,
that's a Michael Scott line from The Office dinner party episode. But go ahead, talk about.
I want to rewatch that so I can understand that. We got they're at home against Boston. That's bad. At home against Atlanta, not as bad. We got D'Angelo Russell doubtful for this one. Cam Thomas questionable. Noah Clowney questionable. So this is the tail end of the 5-game week. I would say players are tired, but I'm sure you'll bring up Day'Ron Sharp. He's averaging just 17 minutes a game. So I mean, a lot of these guys aren't even barely playing at all. What are your thoughts? Who are you targeting in a Saturday, Sunday back-to-back to win your fantasy playoff week?
Zaire Williams.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Keon has been completely unreliable. Day has completely disappeared. Nick Claxton is kind of trash. Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson are good to go. Like, hopefully Cam Thomas plays in that game. I rolled the dice on D'Angelo Russell Wednesday, I think it was, or Thursday. I don't know which day it was. He was
Do you
terrible,
know which day it is today?
Terrible. Now he may not play tonight. Like, D'Angelo Russell is so painful because he's good. Zaire Williams is the only one of these dudes I trust.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the most consistent, that's for sure. But it's weird. Sharp is like right next to him value-wise over the last 3 weeks. He's basically getting you 2.2 combined defensive stats and then like a bunch of junk, 5 and 5 and 2 assists. The 2 assists are kind of nice, but like how are you relying on somebody playing just 17 minutes a game? It's so tough. Keon's been wiped out by Cam Thomas. That's that's the unfortunate bummer of what happens when your player who you kind of not want to say built around over the course of the season, but he was the guy. He was the guy with the greenest light on the team. And then he's like, oh, I'm healthy now and I would like to play some basketball. And you got to bring him back. And it's kind of interrupted their flow and any thought that they had of making the play in, which probably was a goal 2-3 weeks ago, got tossed out the window with that reintegration there. Keon Johnson getting hit the hardest. But he's actually, despite that, he's at 2.5 cash counters in the last 8 games. So despite not getting the ball and not having any real action there, he's getting steals and blocks and threes, and it's somewhat valuable.
I think tonight might be if D'Angelo Russell plays. He's questionable, right?
Yes. No, D'Angelo's doubtful. Sorry.
Oh, he's doubtful. Never mind.
No, he's doubtful.
Well, that's great because he went 10 for 18 on Saturday and had 28 points, 6 boards, 7 assists. I think everybody kind of went in on him at that point. He backed it up 2 of 9 on Monday for 8 points, 2 of 9 on Thursday for 4 points, and I think he missed a game in between there. So what a headache D'Angelo Russell is this year.
Yeah, well, he's a headache every year. He's D'Angelo Russell. The year he was good, he wasn't a headache. That was last year. That was the 1 year he wasn't a headache. Congrats, D'Angelo Russell, for the 1 year. Tyrese Martin is worth mentioning. He's actually been a late round value. Out of all of these players in the last 3 weeks, Tyrese Martin, who most folks wouldn't be able to pick out of a lineup, late round value in 8 games, 23 minutes, 12 points, 2.3 triples, 3 boards, 2 assists, handful of defensive stats, not much, but good efficiency, and he's just been decent. So I don't think that's worth a stream in a lot of like 12-team leagues because it's so iffy. But if you're in a deeper format and you're just scraping the bottom of the barrel and you're looking for something in Brooklyn, Tyrese Martin, give him a look. Milwaukee at home against Indy and then at home against Oklahoma City. That Indy game's interesting. They got a couple real barn burner kind of games. I mean, Milwaukee just got smacked by the horizontal 4-point play of Tyrese Halliburton. Then at home against Oklahoma City on ESPN. So I don't know which one they're geared up for more, but they'll be geared up for both. What do you like in Milwaukee right now?
Not a lot. Kamla's like, just drop Kyle Kuzma. He's terrible. I don't know if and I don't think we can drop Kyle Kuzma. I don't think Cam told people to drop Kyle Kuzma, but I think Cam wants to drop Kyle Kuzma.
Drop Kyle Kuzma. I just did it.
Dude, is Kyle Kuzma your least favorite basketball player?
No. There's do you want to go historical or do you want to just go right now? Julius Randle. Yeah, Julius Randle. Then if you want to go historical, there was Corey Joseph.
He's still in the league.
And then there was Nemanja Bjelica, and mind you, none of these players I hate. I think they're probably fine people. I love
Bjelica.
Yeah. Oh, people love Bjelica. Trust me. Like you say a bad word in Sacramento about Nemanja Bjelica, he could have been burnt for 50 straight layups, and you say a bad word, and they are ready to fight. And as Andre points out, Magic starting point guard Corey Joseph.
Yeah,
that happened.
Yeah,
that's how much like he's such a good guy that people are like, yeah, you could play and have minutes, and once you run the offense, hey, move on into my house. We love you, Corey Joseph. Oh, and one more for the record. And you'll appreciate this, Doc. On the Mount Rushmore of players that I've just gone off on for like multiple years at a time, Kendrick Perkins. What do you like in Milwaukee? What do you like in Milwaukee? Other than
dude, I don't have a whole list like you do, but Carmelo Anthony was my guy that I did not.
I remember
enjoy. I did not like Carmelo Anthony. Milwaukee, there's not a lot to love there either. Kyle Kuzma stinks. It's all Lillard. It's all Giannis, and sometimes it's all Brook Lopez, which leaves you with Taurean Prince, Gary Trent, Kevin Porter Jr., and AJ Green. Out of those guys, I think I trust Taurean Prince the most. But what Kevin Porter did on Thursday night in just like 17 minutes was pretty wild. Do you have that line?
Yeah, it was 22-3, and then 2 steals, 2 blocks, 5 threes. It was 3 rebounds. I don't know why I went 22 and 3, like people would understand that. 17
nasty.
It was a nasty. Hey, we've been talking about Kevin Porter, not just like in Milwaukee, but even in like Los Angeles, as this is the guy that if there's somebody to come out of the 8th, 9th, 10th spot of a roster and do something, it's him. And he's finally got on the board with a good one. I'm curious. It seems like this is not the spot to bet into this because Indy, I think that game will be super competitive on both sides. And so what does that mean? Probably Kevin Porter gets squeezed. Oklahoma City, they've wrecked every box score they've played in all year. Like the opposition, it doesn't matter if they're the most consistent team in the world. Oklahoma City plays them, and everybody shoots for like 30% and can't get a stat. It's an interesting spot for Kevin Porter here. Okay, before we get into our top waiver wire ads, a couple things going on here at Sports Ethos. Our MLB draft guide is hot. It is loaded. It has everybody from the Ethos operation putting in their 2 cents. Rick's in it. Paul Williamson, Anthony Cates, many others. They are doing the work, as I like to say. And what I know about this business is there are people who are in the lab cranking, doing the thing, and they're the ones that know stuff. These are the guys that know stuff. So check out the draft guide. There is a promo code, AllSport 2025. I believe that's the promo code. I'm like 73% certain. Nope, that's not the promo code. MLB 2025. That one I know is correct. I've become accustomed to that one being correct. It's 25% off. There we go. The MLB Fantasy Pass, and if you want the All Sport Pass to get NBA, NFL, MLB, the All Sport 25. That's correct. Get you 25% off for 6 months, and you can get all this good stuff. We'll be in football season. We'll be in basketball season before you know it. We were actually scheduling out our basketball coverage the other day, and I was laughing because we are already into next year. We are already studying for next year. Deep breaths. Also, our app is awesome. We just added more stuff. It's free. Go to whatever platform you get apps from. Search Sports Ethos. Download. You get the news feed. You don't have to be on Twitter sorting through Twitter threads. 5 million Twitter threads and whatever ad's going to show up and break your heart. Get the app. It's nicer. All right, let's get into the waiver wire ads of the moment. Who do you have, Doc, and why?
Trey Jones, Chicago Bulls, 18% rostered. They play 4 games this coming week. No Lonzo. Josh Giddey, banged up. Io, out. Trey Jones has been balling, man. I think he is a great ad for anybody looking for a player right now. And a secondary side note there, Brandon Williams would be on this list for me, for sure. He plays for Dallas, but they only have 2 games next week, which makes it tough. So anyway, and then I have Moses Moody, plays 4 games for the Golden State Warriors. He's been kind of quiet, but good for the month of March. So I kind of like him. Miles McBride playing solid minutes for the Knicks. They play 4 games. Jalen Brunson, we still don't know when he's coming back. I don't think. I haven't checked on him lately, but Miles McBride should get all the run he can handle. And your guy, Keon Ellis, even though Malik Monk is back, I still kind of like Keon Ellis.
Are you on board? You're on board?
Plays 4 games.
Did Rick sass you for it?
No, I'm good with Keon. I really enjoyed Keon when Malik Monk was gone. Like, that's when I sort of got on board. And then the last guy is Quentin Grimes, 56% rostered, 4 games. I just can't stop talking about Quentin Grimes. I love that guy.
He is questionable tonight with an illness. I will run down some injury updates before we get into the next segment here. It's an awesome list. Let's see, folks that you did not say. Well, since you did say Keon Ellis, I do want to remind folks he is top 65 this season by totals. Top 65 by totals. If you stuck Keon Ellis in your lineup every day, there would be 64 players that are better than him and a whole lot that would not be as good. That Keon Ellis. All right. You teed me up, Doc. You can't do it. Ty Jerome, if he's been dropped, I don't know. He's been quiet lately, but he's still top 75 over the last 9 games. Echo your point on Brandon Williams. Chris Dunn has been interesting. Not interesting. He's been great. He's been top 75 over the last 11 games. We do have Norm Powell coming back at some point, but I think if you're trying to win now and you need steals, it's a pretty easy call to go to Chris Dunn. You talked about Chicago. I like Kevin Huerter. I like Trey Jones. I like Trey Jones probably more than Kevin Huerter because Kevin Huerter's health is clearly an issue. And there's just this element of safety, I think, with Trey Jones right now. Maybe the upside belongs to Kevin and the safeness belongs to Trey. Kevin Huerter, top 90 over the last 8 games, 30 minutes a game, 15 points, 3.5 triples. Other goodies as well, 3.3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.5 steals, 0.4 blocks. We've seen this with Huerter in the past. And if you're in a deep league, check out Julian Phillips. Might be getting some roster or probably some run down the stretch. Mo Gay in Atlanta, top 140. It's a 9-game segment of 17 minutes a game, averaging a 111. It's so weird. It's the defensive guy that hoists up the threes every once in a while. Orlando Robinson, and you know what? I forgot to look up his stat line last night, but it's pretty good lately, and it feels like they're just going to let him run the rest of the season out. I mean, the tank is on. Toronto and who plays tonight? Toronto and Washington, I think. I was like, that is the tankiest game I have seen in a really long time. Over the last week, Orlando Robinson, a top 80 guy, getting 26, 27 minutes a game, 13 points, a triple, 9 rebounds. So he's almost getting you a double-double there. 3.3 assists, a steal and a block. He could be at the top of this list. I got a couple other waiver wire pickups we're going to talk about when we talk about who we're going to be watching this weekend because there is a lot of action. We mentioned at the top of the show San Antonio. We'll talk about Philly and Washington as well. But Orlando Robinson and then Kyle Filipowski, I don't know. And we've been shouting this name for like 5 weeks now, it feels like. If he's not picked up in your league, he's going to go down the stretch as one of the main guys in Utah. And he's got a somewhat, maybe even better than somewhat fantasy-friendly game. So I don't know if you have any commentary on any of that, Doc. But
do you have any thoughts on, is it Justin Phillips in Chicago?
Julian Phillips. Yeah, no, I haven't. I mean, I've seen a little bit of him play. It feels like they want him to be, a guy. He's been buried a little bit, and on the season, let's see here. Julian's got what he's got. It's not a lot. It's where'd you go? There he is. Sorry, I'm blind. 14 minutes a game. It's just been really quiet. Played in 64 games. He's been around. He's been in the lineup. Just, it feels like maybe right now is his chance with the tank's not here for Chicago, but like Nick Vucevic, I don't know how bad the injury was, but it feels like, 23 minutes a game. He didn't play in the fourth quarter last night. Zach Collins did. or Zach Collins played more in the fourth quarter. I'm not sure exactly the minute distribution there, but like, are they coasting into this play-in? And do they want to get Julian Phillips some time? He's been a top 150 guy over the last 3 games, 21 and a half minutes. And last night, his stat line was pretty not great.
I don't know it.
You don't know it off the top of your head?
No.
It was hold with the dead air. We've got 34 minutes, 16 points, 7 boards, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 2 threes. That's really good. It's really freaking good. And it's not like Bacelis is tearing the doors off the wall or anything. He's been very, very quiet. Droppable.
Yeah.
Droppable for sure. It feels like it's Trey, Kobe, Kevin, and Josh Giddey's team. And with Josh Giddey out for some amount of time, there's shots. There's lots of stats available in this lineup. So Zach Collins, it feels like he's part of this mix. Julian Phillips, possibly, Ringo or something. Okay, let's get into the.
Brew, I'm playing David Kleiss in 30 deep, and his bench has Denny Avdia, AJ Lawson, and Julian Phillips on it. I feel like I dodged a bullet.
Well, while we're bringing up 30 deep, I've got Rick. Rick and I are locked into a battle, and he's got the upper hand. He's got the high ground. My team is subsisting off of the likes of Jeff Doughton Jr. Thank you so much, Jeff Doughton Jr., for your performance this week so far. Tristan, I only play 1 out of every 3 games. Vucevic. Jimmy, I don't get stats. Butler. Keegan, they don't let me shoot Murray. Julian, I was good 3 months ago. Champagny. And De'Aaron, I'm going to play the rest of the week, but not the rest of the season. Fox and Dante, excellent. And I am hanging in against his all-star squad. That has Orlando Robinson. That has Brooke Lopez. That has Zach LaVine. That has Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And Isaiah Joe. Isaiah Joe will probably be the dagger for me.
I have Damian Baugh and Micah Potter in my lineup, and they might both be in the G League right now.
Yeah, I don't want to hear any complaints. I have Amin Thompson and Dan Gafford on my IR. If I survive, I have a line of sight on beating and toppling the Giants here. I do. I have a line of sight. It's the thinnest one. I have a 10 or 20% chance of winning, but it is real. And I bet Rick is shaking in his boots.
Well, the winner of your match plays the winner of my match, and I'm up 7-2. So I don't care if I play you or actually I want to play you. Hearing your team compared to Rick's, I think I would
you want to play me.
Take my chances with you.
That's the ethos side of the bracket, and then there's another ethos squad. Of course, it's Mike Passador who'll be on tomorrow's show. You're gonna want to check this out. This dude's won 30 deep twice, and he's played in like 5 years. 6-3 or 6-3 over Andre Snellings of ESPN, and then Matt Smith, a basketball monster who is always very good, is in a brawl with Alex Reclean of CBS Sports / RotoWire. It's good. The action's good. Speaking of the action being good and the way you can transition out of anything, what are you watching this weekend? You got any players that you're specifically watching? Teams? What you got?
The injured guys. I want to know when Norm Powell is coming back because I need him desperately. I want to know when Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. is playing, which could happen this evening, as we talked about. And then I want to know when LeBron James is coming back. We're getting good reports out of LA. I kind of feel like he's going to try to play next week, which would be nice. If you have LeBron James on your roster, I'm sure you'd like to have him for 4 games. So I'm watching that. I already went on my Al Horford rant. I want to know if Al Horford is going to play in all 3 of these games for Boston with no back-to-backs. I hope he does. And then with this De'Aaron Fox shut down for the season stuff, somebody's going to have to step up in San Antonio. Steph Castle has basically run away with Rookie of the Year. I think the race is over. He won. But there's, does Chris Paul keep chugging along? Does Devin Vassell go off? Does Jeremy Sohan get more minutes and start doing more than he has been. So I'm interested in the San Antonio setup the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, this was an interesting kind of like, I don't know, fantasy ringer kind of a deal. I don't know how much of fantasy universe just caught the simple report. Like Michael, I think it's Michael Wright out of San Antonio, just said, yeah, you know, Darren's thinking about getting surgery. He'll have a decision made on March 17th. I was like, okay, there's no choice here. That's a date. That's a specific date. Like what choice would there be? You're gonna have you know, something to play for in San Antonio the last 3, 4, 5 weeks? No. You know, you're gonna get the surgery that you probably needed at some point in time during the season. I mean, he's been dealing with this all season. It's affected his shot, his efficiency numbers, etc. Once Wemby went down and all of my teams have Fox on them, I said, oh boy, we're gonna have no Fox, and that's gonna be that. And we're gonna have to figure out a way to subsist, because that's what we do. And that's what's happening here. So anyway, Stephon Castle, I think, is rostered in a lot of leagues. I mean, you know, especially if you don't care about percentages, he's, aside from the inconsistency, which is bound to happen. I mean, this is going to be a team that's not playing well, that's down players, that's wanting to lose games, that's, you know, there's a lot of things working against them. So that's going to be inconsistent. I see a hand.
50%
rostered.
Yeah.
That tells me like 40% of leagues are just like not even playing, that they're just like people that signed up on day one and didn't play the rest of the way. Okay. And then down roster, it's the, you know, I think Jeremy Sohan might be the most, you know, safest kind of play, but none of these guys are really truly safe. Keldon Johnson probably, actually, if I had to restate that, might be the safest play. Not a huge fan of Keldon's overall fantasy game. In head-to-head, it's better because the stuff he doesn't do, you can either, you know, kick that out or you could keep it. But Julian Champagnie, at some point in time, I think he gets rewarded for being a good soldier that sits on the bench and doesn't say much, because Devin Vassell came back, and Harrison Barnes could easily, it would not shock me at all if Harrison Barnes was consistently good down the stretch, because he's not impacting winning, and he's just that kind of a guy. Sometimes he just takes the ball and it's his, and he goes with it. Bismack Biyombo, even if you were looking to stream, because they got the Friday, Saturday back-to-back, you might get something. You know, they get Charlotte at home. This is a very good matchup, no matter, even if everybody plays in Charlotte. New Orleans, they are, you know, not good. So, you know, they got some good matchups here. So these guys could do something with it. Elsewhere.
You just reminded me of something that I missed. In my ads of the week, we only do 5. So once I got to 5, I just kind of shut it down. Before I got to the Washington Wizards, I think that Justin, not Julian, but Justin Champagnie might be he's right there with Trey Jones as far as guys I want to pick up right now and have in my lineup, because he's starting for Washington now, and there's nothing that should stop him from going off the rest of the way. I'm trying to pull up his game log right here. In his last game, he had 17 points, 9 boards, and 3 steals. In the game before that, he played 31 minutes, 8 boards, 5 points, a steal and a block. Game before that, two blocks, 2 steals in 24 minutes. But he's gotten 30 minutes in back-to-back games. I think it's going to be 30 minutes the rest of the way with that guy. And I think he's a great pickup right now.
Yeah. I mean, Justin Champagnie, I've been just screaming at the top of the mountain for like 3-4 weeks and feeling almost like it was a little too early. And at the same time, you never know with this stuff. You never know when a team like Washington's going to be like, oh, let's play the veterans and let's win a couple games and let's knock ourselves out of the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, you know, all that good stuff. But they do, and they did. And at the same time, now you get the Bilal Coulibaly injury, opening everything wide open for this squad. I mean, Keyshawn George, I mean, he's been on injury reports lately, but you know, not really. 11 games in the last 3 weeks, top 75, 10 points, 2 triples, 5 boards, 3.5 assists, 3 combined steals and blocks. He's going to go off if he's healthy and plays. Justin Champagnie, top 145 over the last 11 games when it's been struggle bus for him. 20 minutes per game, 7 points, over a triple, 6 rebounds, a steal, and a block per game. And that's when things are bad. Even look at the last week's numbers here. The last 4 games, 23 minutes, and he's getting you 3, a steal and a half, and a block per game, and 7 and 7 more or less in the points and rebounds. And this is while all of the veterans are playing. And when those veterans are basically done, whenever that may be, you're going to see Justin Champagnie looking a lot like Justin Champagnie in the middle of the season when he had a month-long top 75 run. Top 75 doesn't grow on trees. He's got a great stat set, and he's pretty, I think from here on out, he's locked in to fantasy value the rest of the way. Bub Carrington gets a boost with this, but it's been bad for Bub. You know, top 200 in the last 11 games, getting 28 minutes per game. If you kick out percentages, if you kick out the things he's not doing well, he's certainly a player. And I do think there is a point in time where they've got to hand him the ball and say, let's see what you can do as the lead dog, at least a little bit. But it's Washington. And then in Philly, watch out, Grady Dick. There's a new boner in town, Adam Bona, top 140 over an 8-game segment, 17 minutes per game, 7.6 points, 5.3 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, 0.6 steals, 67% shooting from the field. Had that big game when I think the tank became locked in Philly. And an injury update, you got Quentin Grimes questionable with an illness, Kelly Oubre questionable right knee sprain. I think the tank is full on here. Paul George being out the rest of the season, not surprising. Have they ruled out Tyrese Maxey for the rest of the season? I don't even know, because in my mind,
but it's coming.
I've categorized this as it's coming. I think Quentin Grimes might be next. I hate that. I really hate that, because I think he kind of deserves this moment that he's having where he's a lead guy, sort of, and he's producing really, really well. He's been good, enough to have at least an outside shot at doing that in the past, and he's doing it right now. But I think they're just all in on the tank. So with that, in Philly, Jeff Joughton Jr. has been good lately. Ricky Council is on the radar. They want more out of him in Philly, so he's not meeting their expectations. But Jeff Joughton Jr., top 65 over the last 3 games in just 20 minutes a game. I mean, there's some big games packed in, a lot of, small minute lines. By the way, Quentin Grimes, top 6 value over the last 3 games, averaging 30 points a game, nearly 4 threes, 2.7 steals. I mean, this is a massive stat line. He's number 6 in 9-cat leagues despite 4.3 turnovers per game.
Quentin Grimes, think they're going to shut him down.
I hope not.
I don't think they are.
I hope not. Justin Edwards has been kind of a dud. He was somebody that I was, had bumped up the Philly ladder, so to speak. I mean, hell, you could even look at Alex Reese, who's been somewhat productive. Alex Reese, who has played 5 NBA games or something, I believe. So he's out there and in the mix. Jared Butler is a top 100 guy over the last 3 games, getting 30 MPG, 12 points, just under 3 triples, 3 boards, 7.7 assists. This is the team I'll be watching this weekend. I want to see who's going off, what's what. If these players, I mean, when you talk silly season madness, these guys are right at the top of the list. Philadelphia, I will be glued to those games and to those box scores just to see what's what. Feel free to comment, but ATS and props. If you don't have any comments on those guys, who are your props?
I don't think they're going to shut Grimes down. I hope not anyway. My against the spreads, I'm going to start with those. I like Atlanta at home getting 4.5 against the Clippers. The Clippers just got beat at New Orleans, of all places. They have won 4 of their last 5, but they lost at New Orleans. Then they won at Miami because Bogi Bogdanovic went nuts and scored 30. I like teams getting points at home, and the Hawks are kind of good, and the Clippers and Hawks seem like a pretty fair matchup. So give me 4.5 points with Atlanta. I like the Boston Celtics. Oh, who's Boston playing? I had this all pulled up, and
they can play the Heat. They're in Miami.
Boston at Miami -7.5. They're a good road team. Miami is not good.
Miami's
So
terrible.
I kind of like that. And then my last one is the Lakers getting 13.5 points. Where did that game go?
Is Luka playing? Is question. They're playing Denver. Is Luka playing in Denver on the ill-fated back-to-back in Denver, where the airport is an hour away from the hotel, and they got to fly into the high altitude in the cold weather, and then go to the airport, and then get to their hotel at 4 a.m. And then Luka's got to have at least 4 beers. Kidding. And then at that point, they play a basketball game where they play Luka ball and they try to figure it out.
I don't know if Luka's playing or not. Luka went off last night and they got waxed. So the Lakers may just be like, you know what, Luka, take the night off. We know we're going to get thumped by Denver tonight. In fact, just chill out till LeBron gets back.
I don't bet Denver much anymore because they're so like Jekyll and Hyde. Like you watch the Denver beat writers and they kind of are just like apoplectic about whatever game they're in that the Denver just decided they didn't want to play in. And so, I mean, it all sets up for a Lakers cover here. I don't know if I really doubt that Luka would be a 14-point underdog in Denver, but this to me feels like Luka will not play. He was quoted as saying, we'll see on that one about playing in Denver.
Well, and they got crushed last night, so I don't know if he's playing or not. If Luka plays, I like Lakers plus 13.5. If Luka's not playing, I like Denver. How about that? And then a couple props I've got. I like James Harden going for 9.5 assists against Atlanta. I like for Trey to score 25.5 points against those Clippers. Jalen Green is over under 21.5. I like that. And why do I have Quentin?
Why do you have Jay Huff?
I've got Grimes 2.5 written down. Is that 2.5 3-pointers? Is that 2.5? What is that?
I'd be 2.5.
I can't read my handwriting, Brew. Anyway, what you got?
Oh, and what was the over or the under on Jalen Green? You wanted the over on that, right?
21.5 over. I'm going over on that.
Lock it in. I like Indy. This one actually, I'm going to couch this a bit. I don't really like it. Like it's strange. Like the last couple shows, these big slates, and I'm like, usually 1, 2, 3 games are just jumping off the card to me. And in the last couple of times I've looked at it, they haven't been. And actually, we've done quite well. This one, it's swollen up to 13 here. Pacers minus 13, and I guess people are maybe steamrolling Indy here. So I like it because if Tyrese Halliburton's playing, of course, I think that's a big deal. But maybe even if he wasn't, that number would go the other way, and I would still like it. They're an up-tempo basketball team, Indiana. They went 0-3 on their last road trip. They're not a winning team on the road. These are the downsides to this bet. They have a little Jekyll Hyde problem themselves. So those are all the downsides and why I'm not completely enamored with this bet. But when you're Philly and you're just throwing players on the court and they got no experience and you're expecting them to match up in the fast break against an Indiana team that kicks it ahead constantly, that is their offense. It's going to get ugly because matching up in the fast break for teams that are young that haven't played with each other a lot, that is absolutely how Indy murders teams. And I think the Sixers team has no intentions of winning whatsoever. I think organizationally they've communicated that through the ranks. I think the players, they know it. It's not that they're not going to play hard. It's just that why are you, player XYZ going to lay it all out on the line for your organization when you know that you're either not a part of it or they don't care or whatever. So I like Pacers minus 11.5 in this one, and they got to get right on the road. They're going to come out into this one and be motivated, I believe, to win. The other downside is that they do have the game in Milwaukee on Saturday, which that will be a bit of a rematch. So maybe they've got their win and they feel okay about it, and they're not like hyper focused on Saturday's game. But the look ahead factor is also a reason why I'm not over the moon about this bet. Okay, guys. Doc, feel free to shout over me if you have anything else to say. Mike Passador is in tomorrow. Panda is one of the smartest fantasy basketball people I have ever met. So you don't want to miss that. It's also only going to be available on the podcast feed. So get to whatever podcast listener that you use, search up Fantasy NBA Today. Make sure you're subscribed. So you'll get that one tomorrow. That is going to do it for us. Thank you, Andre, as usual, for keeping us in line. Thank you, Doc, for coming up to the show, saying hi. I missed you. I listened to REM this week, all week. What was it? Power to the People. What was the album I listened to? It was
Automatic for the People.
Life's
Rich Pageant.
Life's Rich Pageant, and it powered me through the week. And now here I am talking with you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you guys for all of your feedback. We have feedback. Virtually anybody that talks to us, we're asking for feedback right now. We're making huge investments into the platform. Anything that you guys would like to see around the website, in the shows, etc., please do let us know. That's going to do it for us. This has been Fantasy NBA Today, presented by Bet Online, a Sports Ethos presentation. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, be well.